More? Yes. So I watched the video that I made about ulcerative colitis, and I realized I gave pretty much an outline of my experience. Like, oh, here's the frame of the house. Well, what did we put inside? What was inside the house? Time. Lots of time passed in that 20-year experience for me, so a lot happened. Trust me. So, another thing I'd like to clarify is ulcerative colitis is the inflammation of the large intestines, and there is like scarring, internal bleeding, mucus goes on in there as well. And you know, when I had it, there were a lot of times when I went to the bathroom and I was releasing a lot of blood and mucus, so that was a part of it. Like, that's a detail right there. Just to let you know, like, okay, that was the timeline, you know, part one. This is like, oh wow, day-to-day. This is what it was like day-to-day. On a day-to-day basis, I was in a lot of pain. I spent a lot of time in bed. I spent a lot of time retreating. That's why I didn't feel like the kind of teenager that wanted to just like go out and do things. It encouraged me to be that deep artist at age, you know, teenage years. They used to call me Lydia in high school. Lydia from Beetlejuice, Winona Ryder, remember? I will say on a day-to-day basis, it was very painful. So yeah, like from 11 years old to into my late 20s into my 30s, I lived in a lot of pain. And towards the end, there'd be more time of no pain and little moments of pain. I was very pale. I was very tired. There were times when I had dark circles, you know, from just being depressed. And then the anemia really kicked it in. I had a natural goth girl look, you know, the pale skin and the under eye circles, dark circles. So put on some combat boots and some black and some manic panic in your hair. That's it. When I gave up the medication at 21, I did go through withdrawal, and it was very intense. Like medicine leaving my body. Like I remember pooping out medicine. Yeah. And just like this chemical feeling leaving, this non-me feeling, this metallic feeling leaving. And there was a time, I mean, I started taking that medication at age 14, and I took it for 7 years, and I was developing on it, or pretty underdeveloped on it as a teenager. There was a time when I almost didn't know what I was like without it. Not because I was addicted to it, but because it was so saturated in my being. And so getting it out of my system was like letting go of a lot of confusion and a lot of distortion, because that medicine was obviously not my natural way of being. So I'd like to express that as well. Yeah, I was a very depressed teenager. I mean, I did have happy moments, though overall, there was like the ulcerative colitis was like a little rainy cloud, you know, a little rain cloud, and it was just like that for a very long time. And I do remember, yes, at age 18, I was suicidal, and I did make an attempt to do that. It was a very painful experience, and with the family experience not being so healthy, and then the stress of life and living in a city environment, it was just a cocktail for ulcerative colitis and stress. So, you know, I've learned a lot undoing this coil. It's taken a long time. So, I became ultra-sensitive, extra sensitive because of this. Living with pain in the body. I remember just feeling very numb from my abdominal area to like my thighs. Not like I couldn't feel at all, but just altered and not feeling as much as I could feel. And I remember when I did heal from the ulcer at age 27, there was this point, and I was on really high raw foods. I remember I was sitting down and I was in a really peaceful place, and I was very happy changing my life around. And I remember I felt my abdominal muscles clearly, the most vividly, the most intimately, the most, you know, that intimate feeling with my muscles. I felt it for the first time probably since I was a kid, and it was like such a welcoming home of a feeling to feel my own body in itself again that I cried. I was crying. I was so moved, like, this is what it feels like to feel my body. I didn't know what this was like since a kid. you know? Ugh. A really big deal with the experience that I had was I was going to the bathroom 10 to 15 times on a daily basis. And yes, bowel movements. There was just something going on inside where I was just on automatic, release, release, release. And when I really look at that, it was definitely from being nervous and stressed. And my God, at the time I had internal bleeding and scars in my colon, so it was dysfunctional, you know? That was a very big issue. You know? That's why I had to get that unconditional bathroom pass in high school, you know? It was huge. In Chicago, I knew where every bathroom was. I would actually put on a British accent to get into the bathrooms that were not for the public. I would just charm the wits out of them and get into the loo. You know what I'm saying? Let me use your loo. I'm not from here, you know? Also, when I was 18 years old, I remember someone who had seen me going on with this illness for years and who had known me when I was healthy before that as a child. I remember they asked me with a lot of concern, do you ever think you're going to get better from this? Because it was just like ongoing, and an issue, a huge issue, a very discomforting issue, very dysfunctional issue. And I remember I was only 18 and I just answered. It was like God talking through me, obviously. I said, yes, I am healing. I am going to heal from this. Don't know how, but I do know that I will. And one of the things that got me through this experience was the first 7 years of my life, my childhood, were very utopian and very close to perfect that I can remember. That was a very powerful time for me. That's why I say me at age 6 is one of my heroes. I was completely me. So beautiful and real. And because of that, I do know life is good. And because of that good time in my life, I just remember that that's what got me through the ulcer, knowing that life is good, so I wouldn't give up. Sometimes, of course, we don't always know how we're going to do something. Sometimes you just have to know it's going to happen, because you're worth it. As far as being vegan, okay, almost 19 years ago is when I stopped eating animals. And so 9 of those years I've been vegan. I remember with the health issues, my body could only handle a certain amount of everything, including healing and healing foods, and I just had to go at a pace because I was in a detrimental terminal illness stage. So I remember going vegan. It took time for me to do it. It did take time for me to adjust to being vegan. And I have to tell you, it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy for me because dealing with ulcerative colitis and internal bleeding and cramping and pain every day and going to the bathroom 10, 15 times a day and then incorporating new foods just took a lot of effort. It was very mental. It was very emotional for me. Certain foods that I liked. I had to give up processed foods, and I just remember it was not easy. I would go back and forth so much. It took so long for me to stabilize my lifestyle of eating things that are good for me, because when I ate things that were good for me, my health would get better. When I ate things that were bad for me, it would tax and hurt. It was obvious to me what worked and what didn't work. It's just mentally and emotionally, I was still attached to a lot of food addictions, and it's true, and emotional food things that went on, you know, that I had to work through. So I'm letting you know that wasn't easy. Going vegetarian was easy overnight. That was very easy for me. Very. Going vegan, it was easy at times, and then there were other times where it just wasn't. And going raw took time. I had to ease into that a lot because I was reading all those books, and raw is the law. 100% raw, you know? If you're going to end the war, turn it around backwards, go raw. Do you know who said those things? I was reading those books. And they saved my life because I applied them to my life. It's just, you know, it was not easy trying to be 100% raw all the time either. Though it was easy to incorporate as much raw food in my life as possible. I've realized that I gotta listen to the stages that I'm able to handle. So I remember in the last video I said that the two things that really got me through was a balanced, healthy, vegan, high raw lifestyle and dealing with letting go of issues, because I had so much trauma with dealing with those issues and letting go of those patterns, which took a lot of effort. That put me on the journey of self-love, because obviously I hadn't been loving myself. So I like to add that into the factor. I can say that this is one part of it. Within that part of it, there were so many chapters. So many, so many, so many, and one of them was self-love. Myself, pretty much just me being me. And yeah, I gotta say, the colon hydrotherapy, the 10 days, it took a very long time for me to recover from that, like a good year. I was very sensitive in my abdomen. I didn't have the ulcer at that time, but I was still very sensitive. Think of cleaning a house that hasn't been cleaned in 31 years. That's what it did for me, so it was just, it was like, whoa, afterwards. Just bright, clean, shiny, and sparkly, and just having to, like, rebuild again. Just a lot had happened at once with that colon hydrotherapy experience, so it's not like I just popped out and I went, wee! You know, I just went, whoa, wow! I have had to learn that a lot of things take time. I've had to needed a lot of time to adjust. So those are some of the deeper details that I'd like to express about my journey with ulcerative colitis. So I really hope that this helps you, because it was a huge part of my life and pretty consuming for quite a long time, so here to help. Thank you. Share my videos. Thank you for watching, and subscribe. I appreciate it.